Good morning to all from the editorial board of BuildUp portal. For the ones who are attending a BuildUp webinar for the first time, welcome. For our returning audience, thank you for innovating your interest. Just a brief explanation of what is BuildUp. BuildUp is a collaborative platform in the field of energy efficiency in buildings. It is continuously updated and it represents one of the key sources of information on the topic of energy efficiency. You can register and become a member of the community, so you can upload news, events, present a case study, results from a project, and so on. I would like to invite you all to navigate the portal. In the Learn section, you will find all the podcasts of the past webinars, so it is possible to listen to all the previous presentations. At the end of this webinar, the link to the full presentation and the file to the PDF presentation will be made available in this section of the portal. It is a pleasure to host today's webinar entitled How can BIMplement be implemented in other European countries, which is organized in collaboration with H2020 BIMplement project. I would like to invite you all to contribute and participate in this webinar. You can ask questions by typing in the box on the right side of the screen. There will be in total 4 Q&A sessions at the end of each tool's presentation and one at the end after the closing slides. So feel free to type your questions anytime from now on. Now I would like to present the agenda of today's webinar and introduce the speakers. First, Amandine de Coster from Executive Agency of Small and Medium Enterprises will give an introduction about the project. Then Mantas Jaunauskis from a Regional Innovation Management Center, Lithuania, will introduce the self-service concept and will more deeply explain self-service methods and tools. Then Isaac Villanova and Maria Jose Esparza from IVE, Spain, will discuss about the catalogue of constructive elements. Then Miriam Olivier from Asus France will describe the BIMplement toolkit. Then we have Naris Ben Moussa from AVE France will explain the BIMplement Fit 2.0 container mobile training. Finally, Amandine de Coster will provide closing remarks. Now I would like to leave the floor to Amandine, so please we can start the session.
Yes, hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Warm welcome on my side to this BuildUp webinar, which will explore the results and achievements of the BIMplement project. My name is Amandine de Coster. As it was mentioned, I worked as a project advisor for EASME Executive Agency. Today we will showcase what has been achieved within BIMplement. This project since 2017 has developed an innovative and hands-on approach to upskill construction professionals on building information and modeling, focusing on 2 critical areas, which are airtightness and ventilation. So actually by leveraging the potential of digital technologies for skills development and for energy efficiency improvements in the built environment, the project has been addressing some of the key challenges faced by the building sector today. By way of introduction, I would like to say a brief word about the wider European context in which this project should be also considered. As you probably know, Europe is about to engage in a renovation wave of public and private buildings, as it was already mentioned in the Green Deal communication published last December. It is also a priority under the recovery plan for Europe. So what this renovation wave initiative will be, it will take the form of a strategic communication, which we expect to be presented in the autumn. And this communication will outline a way forward to supporting a more integrated approach across various policy areas. It will also seek to establish an action plan with concrete measures to address the main barriers to renovation in Europe. Some important aspects that we will consider in this context, and that we can also keep in mind for today's discussion, is how to increase the volume and depth of renovation through regulatory and non-regulatory measures, how to facilitate access to mechanisms supporting the mobilization of investment in building renovation, how to tackle the worst performing buildings and also energy poverty, also how to leverage the exemplary role of public buildings, obviously also how to support skills and employment strategies, and how to promote and strengthen the use of digital tools and smart technologies. This Renovation Wave initiative has been extensively presented over the last days during the EU Sustainable Energy Week policy conference. So if you like to find out more, I would invite you to refer to the EU Sustainable Energy Week webpage, where there will be recordings of the sessions available and presentations. The Commission is also running a public consultation until the 9th of July. I mentioned that I work for EASME, and I will say a brief word about what we are doing. Our agency is actually implementing a number of funding programs on behalf of the European Commission, including the part of the Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program, which is dealing with energy efficiency. And it is under this program that BIMplement has been funded. So our work at EASME consists in organizing the selection of proposals under the different calls, the preparation of grant agreements, and the monitoring of projects. At the same time, we are also active in terms of policy feedback, meaning that we are sharing the lessons learned from the projects with the Commission services in charge of defining new policies. So a webinar like the one we are having today is really important for us in terms of learning what has been working well on the ground and the good practices that could be replicated Europe-wide. BIMplement is also part of a wider flagship initiative called Build Up Skills, which we are funding since 2011 through open calls for proposals. Initially, this initiative was mostly funding national projects to identify skills gaps and develop a roadmap of actions, which were then turned into training and qualification schemes mostly for blue-collar workers. Then the scope has been expanded to also address white-collar professionals and also multi-country projects. So far, Build Up Skills has funded more than 70 projects, representing an EU support of more than 45 million euros. So this was to give you a bit of background. And now, without further ado, we will hear about the concrete results and solutions that BIMplement has developed.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mantas Jonauskis. I'm from Regional Innovation Management Center from Lithuania, which is responsible for replication and exploitation of BIMplement results. And today I will shortly present you BIMplement project and follow up with self-service concept that was developed in the course of the project, and that would serve as a follow-up approach after the project will be over. So why this project has been started in general? It started because of initiatives that were presented already by Amandine, but to be more specific, it aims at improved quality for nearly zero energy buildings for using BIM as a medium while achieving quality aspects in terms of buildings. So the project aims to this effect to train a number of labor force, which is busy planning, designing and implementing these kind of projects, both for blue-collar workers and white-collar workers, around 1,200 of them. So what is the focus of the project? It was mentioned already before, the project, in order to differentiate itself from others, is mainly focusing on building ventilation and airtightness, using BIM as a medium for training activities as well as qualification development and qualification implementation activities. How it was done, it of course aims in general terms towards increased transparency of EU-level qualifications, but to be more precise, started with definition of BIM processes, because BIM is a starting point, especially BIM project management processes. Then it went towards more deeper exploration of technologies, different NZAP-related technologies, and related tasks, and of course competencies and qualifications. The third element that's also highly important is about interdisciplinary NZAP qualifications. That means that each profession that is involved in the building life cycle, they have to understand each other's jobs, what shall be done, and therefore they need to upskill their level of knowledge in order to be able to understand the whole life cycle of the building, and also the functions and competences required for each stage and for each employee that's involved in the process. The project covers 5 countries. It's France as the leader of the consortium. Then we have Spain, Netherlands, Lithuania, and Poland. In all of these countries, pilot field labs were selected. At least 7 field labs were selected, where initial concept was tested, and then it was transformed to almost 50 experimental sites across different countries. The major part took place in France, but all countries were involved, where this methodology was implemented to the full extent, while training, as I said before, up to 1,200 construction sector workers, blue collar and white collar ones. So that was the short presentation of BIMplement as a project. I said before, today my aim is to shortly introduce BIMplement service concept, as we consider BIMplement as an approach which could be considered as a service. So we needed to design it or to look at it as a service option, because it includes many or multiple elements that were developed during the course of the project, and the concept unites them and provides a general approach and provides more systemic view on how to use it in general and how to use different parts of it. To start with the concept, we need to understand who are the customers, whose problems we're trying to solve. And that's a major goal, but a value proposition aims at helping professionals, white and blue collars, in their work while improving their qualifications and using BIM as a medium or as a means to achieve that result. So the BIM itself is not an aim, but it's rather a means to achieve the objective. We have a lot of legacy systems existing in different countries and European level as well. These could be information systems, information legacy systems, qualification systems. There are many things that already exist. Therefore, we need to transform it while using BIM, and that's the major challenge, because it requires understanding of new technologies, understanding of the skills and competences by other parts in the process of building life cycle. Therefore, we needed to move a little bit further, or to make a step forward beyond basic BIM training, because basic BIM training is already there, it's on the market, but its connection with NZAP and with requirements for new qualifications is not clearly defined yet, it's not structured yet. Therefore, we were having a playing field where we tried to develop different methods and test it in different construction sites. There's a number of intermediaries that might have a sharp interest in the result of the project. This could include training providers, technology or material suppliers. It could also involve different associations, engineers, installers, or architects. And it might be of interest to governmental agencies which try to procure a specific process, or who would like to make an awareness campaign in terms of SAP and BIM. So on this slide, you can see what kind of jobs customers can do while using methods or tools developed in the frame of the project. The first and foremost, the first target group is building and installation companies that need to train their staff. So in order to train their staff, we would need to make some kind of training needs analysis to see what qualifications exist, what new ones are necessary. Then we have training providers which could highly benefit from drafting qualification requirements for specific client, and then based on that requirement set, develop a training program that is tailored to specific needs of the specific company. We also have architects who can benefit from seeing the labor tasks that are implemented not only during, let's say, construction phase, but also when the building is already exploited or is in exploitation phase. Similar interest might come from engineers, installers associations, who also like to mainstream or scale up upskilling of the sector while transforming the whole sector, especially SMEs, in terms of BIM and NZEP quality requirements. And I said before, government agencies might have very similar aims, and technology and material suppliers, they might be interested in mainstreaming existing technologies that they sell to different players in the market through educational settings. Here you see a BIM perspective on the whole of the project, where we start from the left-hand side to definition of requirements for the whole process and result. On the top level of the slide, you see that it's a purpose. The purpose is NZEP-related criteria or KPIs. And we structured it into 4 different items. It's construction management processes, simply BIM stages, BIM use cases, and then tasks. Then we go towards specific NZEP-related technologies. Then we also analyze BIM model for each specific site. And we also analyze different construction technologies that serve as a basis for definition of tasks, which also serve the purpose of development of qualification requirements, competences, knowledge, and skills. And we have a number of actors who participate in the BIM process level, who implement specific construction technology, or who are responsible overall for the project management activities. So we have included ISO standards here. You can see that we try to align freshly developed standards, which are published quite recently, and to align the project activities and result with the standards that are proposed globally as international standards. And while having this framework, of course, we have developed some educational tools, some training materials, and also some tools for quality control that might be used after the project is over, as some or part of the results will be available for the public use. Here, that's an example of BIM maturity level, because we have different companies. We have different companies who understand, have different BIM maturity level, and that means that having different maturity level, they have different qualification needs. And there are multiple questions that need to be answered before making a final decision. What kind of tailor-made qualification and tailor-made training program shall be delivered for a particular client? Here we have some examples on how we linked different tasks with BIM. So we were quite busy, and was quite challenging task to see what is the common point, what is the common ground for connecting different competencies, skills, and knowledge with particular processes. So you see that we have a technology or elements level, we have a project stage as 5 construction phase, and then we have a specific BIM object, and then we have relevant tasks that's connected to this object. So that helps one or another way to classify it, and maybe to make it much easier later on to apply or to develop a tailor-made qualification for a particular client. Here we see the link between the tasks and the learning outcomes, which need to be developed before development of the training program. And here we have an example of Build Up a Skills Advisor app, which is developed by ESOP in previous project, but the content was developed already during BIMplement, and that is an app that helps to understand what are the tasks and what are the ULOs for specific clients. So you can build up a qualification scheme, and you can build up a training program based on this advisor app, and you can also select some trainers or training providers who can help you with implementation of methodologies that were developed. And here we have a final slide, which is a systemic definition of BIMplement service concept. We consider that it has 4 major steps in order to implement BIMplement as a service to its full. It starts with awareness campaign. It differs in different countries, and it mainly relies on French experience because they introduced a specific, even specific position of BIMplement coach, a person who actually does not have a very specific BIM background, but has an understanding that is enough to make different companies aware of NZEP issues and BIM issues that need to be tackled while using different methodologies. And then the second step is BIMplement qualification needs analysis. We have a number of tools which are listed on the right-hand side of the slide, which help to make this happen. So to analyze qualification needs based on BIM maturity level of specific company, and awareness of NZEP issues, and also awareness of how to solve airtightness and ventilation issues. And as almost final step, after we have companies aware of the possibilities on how to improve airtightness and ventilation, and we have analysis on analytical results from the qualifications analysis, qualification needs analysis, then we can jump on the development of the training program, which is tailored to specific needs of specific client. So that means we have a training package and we have a training implementation. On the right-hand side, we see a number of tools and templates which connect to each of these steps and which were developed during the project and which will be available on PropTrack platform after the project is over. So we expect it by the end of August, all of that material will be available publicly. And to finalize this presentation, there were many different digital touch points that were used by implementation of these service steps. I mentioned already the Build Up Skills Advisor app that was used especially in the Netherlands, but now it's expanding in also in other countries. So we have multiple versions also available for other countries. We would need to contact with eStar in case you would be interested in your own case while using this system. I also mentioned PropTrack, which was also developed by RIVA Federation, which in previous project, but we will use this platform in order to explode or to present the results that were developed during the BIMplement project as well. We have some national tools. It's a qualification register that's in Lithuania, that we also have a certification scheme for BIM and also for NZEP related competences, and also have a construction card for construction workers. So that means we try to integrate all the steps, all the standards, and all legacy system that already exist. Also have as a means or a way to work with classification system is ECS BIMAX.com, which helps to connect different classification systems and to connect it, also align it with a specific BIM model. From EVE, from Spain, we use a YouTube channel. It's mainly for promotional aspects of it, and we also have for each specific site a common data environment, and there are many different tools that we use. Trimble, BIMsync, and other BIM 360 that were used for implementation of specific project, while using BIM model as a means for training or as the training material. So that's it about my presentation. It was good to talk to you, and I'm open to your questions.
The construction sector is undergoing a progressive digitalization whose main objective is to improve quality throughout all stages of the construction and renovation process of buildings and promoting interaction between the different agents that are part of the process. BIM has emerged in the sector as a collaborative work methodology that allows having a single model with which to generate and manage all the information of the project throughout its entire life cycle and by all the agents involved. From the European Union, member states and regional governments are encouraged to join this trend. For this reason, the Valencia Regional Government, through the Valencia Institute of Building, is betting on the development of training and qualification programs with BIM skills and also on adapting its tools to new technologies. In the framework of BIMplement project, the tool called Catalogue of Constructive Elements has been updated. The catalogue is an official tool recognized by the Valencia Regional Government and widely used by professionals in the sector. It consists of a wide range of constructive solutions that comply with current regulations and that contain information on their thermal, acoustic, waterproof, fire protection performance, among others. In recent months, a new version of the catalog has been created, transforming it into an online application that can be used from any device with an internet connection, mobile phones, tablets, computers. In this way, users can connect to projects stored in the cloud in real time, both from offices and on-site. In addition, the constructive solutions of the catalog can be exported in IFC format to any BIM modeling program. A specific plugin has also been developed to maximize its compatibility with Revit. To promote the use of the catalog on site by blue-collar workers, the information related to constructive solutions has been expanded. For example, on-site assembly instructions for facades, roofs, and openings, instructions to correctly carry out leak tests that help quality control, or instructions for the correct use and maintenance of the building, among others, have been introduced. In this way, the catalog is useful for different agents, designers, contractors, project managers, but also for on-site workers, such as foremen and even blue collars. The latter do not need to know how to model in BIM, but they can find it very useful to consult the BIM model on site through viewers and thus obtain more information on construction details or instructions for placement-specific solutions. The visualization of the BIM model on site is feasible through tablets or even mobile phones, and today there are several options for viewers, some of them free. The new version of the catalog is available on the BIMplement web. It is one of the educational resources that BIMplement offers in its repository for BIM learning centers that want to exploit the BIMplement methodology in the future after the project ends. In the trainings held in Spain, specific content on the catalog has already been given and tutorial videos have been shared with trainees that already exceed 600 visits. In addition, the new version of the catalog has already been presented to the Valencia Regional Government, which is interested in promoting its use among professionals in our region, but also in sharing the results with the Government of Spain. This fact contributes very positively to the strategy of replication and exploitation of the BIMplement project that will be spread not only to professionals, but also to decision makers in the
This is the main menu of the catalog of constructive elements. It's an online application that allows to choose constructive solutions from a catalog and also to design solutions by user. It calculates their properties according to the Spanish regulations, links them with documents developed by the Valencian Institute of Building, and allows to generate those elements in IFC format with all the information integrated in their properties. First of all, I'm going to create a project and define its name, code, and also location details for climatic calculations. Then we enter to our project to edit it. And on the left side is the menu of constructed elements. We can work with slabs, roofs, facades, inner walls, and openings. Let's go to facade, for example, and here we have already defined solutions in the catalog, but the application also has the possibility of design solutions by user layer by layer with this button from here. And the application calculates the properties of each element according to the Spanish construction regulations and show the results in these charts from here. And also we can check details about the layers or the properties of each element if we click on the image. It also links documentation developed by the Valencian Institute of Building related to each constructive element, such as technical specifications for the project, work cards with information for the constructive process, service tests to check the proper behavior of the element, and maintenance manuals. So to add solutions to our project, we have to create groups and then select with this icon from here which ones want to add to that group, and then save changes. And I'm going to do the same with an opening, just for show you how to create a solution defined by user. But I'm going to pick up some random options, just to go faster. Okay, so we have here our element and with its properties already calculated. So each of these solutions can be exported in IFC format, and the export process can be made by element from this button from here, by group with this button from here, or by project with this one. So I'm going to add this solution to the project, save changes, and export the entire project. Then it generates an IFC file, and to check the IFC, I'm going to open it in a free IFC model viewer such as BIMvision. And here we can see the elements generated in the application and check their properties. For example, for the facade, here we have all the layers, here we have all the calculated properties and also the links to the related documentation. And same for the window. To maximize the compatibility of this IFC with Revit, it has also been developed a plugin for this program. Is this from here? And after launching it, I look for the file that I have already created and select import options from here. They are described in the user manual and they import the IFC in different ways according to the modeling preferences of each Revit user. So by clicking the Read IFC button, the plugin reads which elements are in the file, and once the process is finished, here I have the window I have created. I'm going to put it in a wall. Okay, so here is the window with the same properties and the same links to the related documentation. And in the case of the facade, this one is the one from the application with the code of the online application. And I'm going to show you how the elements are defined by layer. And also is remarkable to say that in the case of the elements that can be defined layer by layer, they are compatible with the layer priority option of Revit, allowing a better performance of these elements during the modeling process. Finally, in the question mark of the main menu of the online application, it is provided a user manual, video tutorials, the link for downloading the plugin for Revit, a manual for advanced IFC users with further detail about the labels for the program properties in the IFC format, and the About section detailing the credits for the development of this application. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. So if you have question for this first part of the webinar, it's time to ask. I would start with the first question. If the catalog application exports in IFC, why was a specific plugin created for Revit?
Okay, so not all the programs treat the IFC the same way, and also the programs usually have more features than the ones defined in the standard IFC format. So in order to preserve the particular functionalities of each program, the IFC needs to be adapted to each one. For example, the plugin allows the user to choose if he wants to import a slab, splitting it in a ceiling and slab and a floor separately. And we will develop plugins for other programs like ArchiCAD, Allplan, and others. Nevertheless, as we have seen in BIMvision, the geometry and the properties are correctly generated according to the IFC standard.
Thank you. Second question. Can the catalog application be useful for users from outside Spain?
All the calculations made by the application are strictly according to the Spanish regulations. However, some basic properties like the thermal transmittance of a wall are calculated without special rules. But others, like the fire resistance of the elements, those would only be useful in Spain. And also all the related documentation, the properties of each element is provided only in Spanish. However, the catalog can still be used just for modeling because, for example, it is very easy to create openings within a wide range of configurations in a much less complex way than editing an existing family in modeling programs or looking to the internet for the one you need for your project. Thus, the application is still useful outside Spain.
Thank you. Since there are no more questions at the moment, I would continue with the next presentation.
Good morning to all listeners. My name is Myriam Olivier from Astuce in France, and my presentation will deal with the interest for blue-collar workers to be able to visualize their project BIM model with a BIM viewer when they are implementing it. Actual challenge is that buildings are usually not as efficient as planned during the design phase. One of the reasons is quite often wrong implementation. It may be due to a lack of skill from a site operator, but also faced to the complexity of the project. It may be due also to the lack of right and relevant information, which are not so easy to find on the site, on the building site. Issue also is how to get blue-collar worker to be upskilled when neither the blue-collar worker and the company feels it's useful to get upskilled and to take a training session. So here you've got, for example, an example of this question with complex NZ building. On the left side, you've got the classical 2D plans, and on the left one, the same project, but visualized with a 3D project. You can see that it's much easier to understand the stacking of the different network on the right side compared to the left side. What is the proposal? One of the BIMplement proposal has been to help site workers, including blue-collar workers, to implement the project as close as possible to the design plan, and to develop also cross-trade and cross-level communication. These two elements are really important when dealing with NZ building, where everything is imbricated and all interfaces have to be really worked out. The proposal we made is center of the use of BIM model on the construction site. 2D plans are still used as complements. And so the first step we've got to do is to convince the whole stakeholder chain of the interest of such an innovation. Innovation is using BIM model on the work site. And the second step is to train building company employees on the use of freeware viewer and understanding the main viewers tools. What for this training on the viewer and the use of viewer? One is visualize the 3D work that has to be done. Discover a project through a set of 2D plans is quite difficult compared to a 3D model. With 2D plan, you have to make your own representation of the building, the different material to be used, the stacking of network. But when viewing a BIM 3D model of the project, you see where everything is situated and what material, what product will be used. It's then much easier to show the weak and delicate point and discuss with other batches to solve the problem. The BIM viewer also includes a set of possibilities for exchange and communication. Communication with everybody, all stakeholders. I mean, not only the foreman, but also the design office from the company, from the project manager, and so on. And of course, this question of communication is quite a change in habit, because beforehand, you would not have a thinking that a site foreman can ask questions to the design office about the project. Now it's much easier to do it. And also communication allows the use to update the material and product that have actually been implemented on site. It's also much easier to have access to document, because document can be linked to the model. You've seen it from the previous presentation. It may be technical guide, videos, technical or architectural design. It may be an internet link also. And of course, you can imagine it's much easier to find a document when it's linked directly to the model, but than searching it all around the site, if it's on the site, if the document is on the site effectively. In the same way, you can easily add documents during the implementation. You can add picture of what have been made, because afterward it's going to be hidden behind a partition or something. And it's also a way to show an interface problem with another batch. And finally, all these tools allow you to participate in the creation of an as-built model, because this tool allows to inform the person in charge of the design of this as-built model of any update about material, product, location, and so on and so on. So we first made a very classical one-day training program to go through all these tools and elements. And so it's a very pragmatic discovery of what is a BIM process and how to use a viewer for better implementation. The training program allows you to manipulate freeware viewers and visualize BIM models, find useful information within the BIM model, insert documents, and communicate via notes and documents linked to the model. Very classic one-day training. And when we did implement this kind of training, it quite worked out real fine. I mean, in the end, all companies that took this one-day training, they all have been very, very, very satisfied, and all are wishing furthermore to use this tool for new projects. So it really works once you have explain how useful it may be to use a BIM model and a BIM model on site. It works real fine. However, this training format, which is a one full day training session, given either in a training center, or maybe sometimes it's possible directly on the site construction, on the construction site, sorry. Well, it's not easy for everybody to take this kind of course, in particular for small company and site operator, because imagine blue-collar worker working usually on the site. It's really hard to take for them to take a whole day training just sitting in a room. And for small building company, it's a waste of time. One day is much too much. So, well, we designed a new training program, which is based on another pedagogy. And it's what we call the BIMplement kit, which is the object of this presentation, but I needed to explain what is the content of it. The training program is especially dedicated for on-site workers, which are the foreman and site operator. It's based on the same kind of skill acquisition, just as before, but using a clear step-by-step progress program. And it's also just made out, each step is a 1 hour session, and which makes it much easier to implement on the construction site, but because it may be very beginning of the day or just before lunch or at the end of the day, you just gather all the people and give a 1 hour training, only 1 hour. The very first session is very important, because this session is the occasion to present for the first time the project to be implemented. And it will be presented with a BIM model instead of just 2D plan. Even though if 2D plans are just ready for use and they are ready to be used by the presenter during this session. And during this session will be presented also the objective of the training for operator, and of course the interest for them to use BIM model on the construction site, because it's a real cultural change, cultural evolution for site operator, to tell them that instead of just using 2D plan, they are going to use 3D model. They will have a tablet on site, either right next to them or in the special room, but it will be possible for them to go and see them. And then you've got a first set of 1 hour training session. Session 2 to 5 are the basic, we'll explain the basic tools in Viewer, how to open a Viewer, how to visualize models, and use some basic tools like find data in the model, what kind of windows, where is it located, and things like that. Maybe for part of your site operators, they will take only this 5 first session. It's the basic operator. We just have implement a model, but they don't have to enrich it. But for foreman and higher skilled operator, session 6 to 12 will explain more advanced tools, and they are dedicated to foremen, craftsmen, skilled site operator who will have to extract data or bring in the information that will enrich the model and the as-built model. That is the place where they will be able to get the model, include a picture, add a picture to the model, send a communication note to another batch or thing like that. And these are 10 sessions, 12 sessions altogether. And at the end of this 12 session, that is 12 hours, it's possible for the person to really use the BIM model on the site, because they will have been using the training content. It's directly and completely related to the project they are implemented. So they're in the same time they are working on the site, they see it on the BIM model with the viewer, and they can imagine what they can do to improve the model. And just one thing, it means also that the trainer, which I presented but real fast, the trainer belongs to the building company, and he has to be trained previously, but he's the one who also knows his guys working on the site and knows the project. So it's just a real in-house training. As a conclusion, I would say that at the moment, at least in France, a lot of building companies are still far from using digital technology during their work in the design office, but all the more on the construction side. But once the building company, white-collar workers, have been trained on the interest to use BIM model for a better site implementation, there still are difficulties to provide training to blue-collar workers. And this BIMplement kit is an answer to the difficulty posed by these building companies that are reluctant to train their blue-collar worker along classical training in a training center. They are the building company will bring by themselves the training to their blue-collar workers. That is quite new, but it works. Hope you can try it one day. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Since we're running a bit late, I would go on with the last tool presentation, and then we have a Q&A. Thank you.
Up. Okay, sorry. Here we go. So as I was saying, just give me a second. I think I have a little problem here. Yes, so I was saying that I was actually working on the presentation of BIMplement and FIT training. So FIT is an on-site and hands-on training that we actually have been developing for the last few years, which focus on airtightness practice to improve airtightness implementation. As in France, we have a regulation about airtightness, and normally we need to do by the end of the construction project a test. And so this is an existing training, and the idea is to develop a fit plus BIMplement training, which is integrating digital issues. So this training is still under development, and the idea is to integrate on-site BIM use training of the presentation done by Miriam just previously, to make sure that the container can have a 3D model and we can work on resolving many technical issues due to ventilation and airtightness. Okay, next slide. So yes, so if you're talking about the on-site, on-hands training that we commonly call FIT, which is Formation Intégrée au Travail, it is an innovative mobile training platform. As you can see here in the picture, we have this platform that can give the opportunity to workers on site to do all the work together. This is something that many trades and many activities, people from many trades and activities can work together on this container on things, issues on isolation, airtightness, and ventilation. So the idea is to improve by the end of the day the energy efficiency, which is much related to these issues of airtightness and ventilation. So yeah, I can use, as you can see, the training content of the FIT container is pretty focused on to train blue collar workers on the construction site. As you can see in the pictures, we bring the container to the site. We choose, we organize groups of different trades to work together to coordinate, so they can see in a real situation but on the container how to work together, especially and how to solve technical problems due to ventilation and airtightness. And yes. So here are more pictures where you can see the container and you can see people working together, using different materials, using different tools, different approaches to get all together so they can understand the realities of each one, and especially work together to make sure that there are no technical issues, especially on ventilation and airtightness, that make the energy efficiency weak. More pictures so that illustrate actually the work on site on the container. Know that this is an on-hands work, so it's more about people on real situation. They can actually work on this. The training is organized on different models. We're gonna see this afterwards on the BIMplement combined to on-hands on-site training. Just to tell you that this picture illustrates the final model, which is a work assessment or a quality assessment model, where we can do the test of power door, which is compulsory by the French regulation. and we can do it on site on the construction site, and which is a real situation, so we can see directly if we actually pass the tests or not. Usually we have very good results after the training, because it's more clear and for everyone, and people can actually be on a real situation and see the interest of the of all the technical issues that we face and usually on construction sites. So yes, as I said, we most of the time have very positive feedbacks, especially regarding this blower door test, where we have 3 or 4 times better results than similar buildings where no container training have been performed. And these better results, they actually make our clients, public authorities, private stakeholders, social landlords, etc., to ask and demand for this training for other projects they will be implementing or already implemented. So this is the first part of the original idea of the on-hands on-site container. Now we are going to talk about the BIMplement plus the fit container mobile training, which is combining, as I said, BIMplement and the idea that we just saw a few moments earlier, the fit container. This training is still under development, so I am going to present the most big ideas of the trainings. The idea is actually to make the physical container. We can make a virtual 3D BIM model of it, especially when it comes to the ventilation system, and make sure that the container is fully modeled under Revit, and also to comprehend and understand the digital challenges of the construction sector. We are talking, of course, about airtightness, ventilation. As you can see, the container and the 3D version, where we can also put documents on the BIM model, as we can see on the following slides. So the training is for sure models combined depending on the profile of the participants, which means management, site operators, foremen, etc. The model 1 is more about the awareness, and model 1 and 4 they are targeting all the profiles, and they are more about the BIM awareness and assess the work quality at the end of the project. In model 2 and 3, they are targeting different profiles. We are talking about a model 2 to make sure that the management understand the interest of BIM, etc., as we can see. And model 3 is more how to implement actually 3D BIM model on the container in real life. So yes, we have different models and different profile, as you can see. The idea is to make 15 hours for the whole training, and the training is usually to be planned along with training center and implemented during 2 months max, depending on the site project. Also, additional BIM training can actually be done based on the same organization, etc., and depending on the needs. So, as I said before, BIM model is more about raising BIM awareness, especially regarding the BIM process mapping, visualizing the performance link between a site model and energy issues, etc. Please remember that we're still talking about the BIM model of the container, the physical container, where usually workers and management, especially workers, are practicing before doing so on the construction site. We are using BIM building learning models, using and manipulating a viewer, slide presentations, as you can see here. So these are two groups, and the two groups can see actually have more insight on BIM and the BIM process. Regarding the model 2, so it's more a model which is based on performance, new zero energy airtightness, BIM model on site management tools. So we make sure that the management understand the interests of the BIM, but also the management how is going to develop the BIM model and put the documents, etc., so that later on can be implemented on the container, implemented in real life. So here you can see, for example, like the BIM model, and we have, sorry, oops. Yes, so here you can see a screenshot of the BIM model, and we have here the document 1 and 2. So this is something we can put where we can put documents attached, so workers on site foremen can actually go click and have all the information about, for example, a technical issue related to airtightness, and they can have all the information. Model 3 is more about how to appropriate the use of the BIM model on the container, which means that foremen will need to understand how to use it, why we use the BIM model, what is the interest, but how this can help their practices, and how it can help them solve their technical problems. So here you can see workers during a session, a meeting, and all around they have their 2D models. Usually they work with this, and then they have tablets, and they can see the difference between 2D model and 3D BIM model, which are the possibilities that this 3D BIM model can offer them, to especially make sure that work is the technical issues are solved, and also then they can, if we are working on a very horizontal way, since the very beginning of the project, we can make sure that we have feedback from both the top but also from the workers on site to improve the BIM models that will be implemented by management, etc. So the 4 model is more about assess the work quality. So here we need to amend on-site project model with the feedback of foreman, make sure if the documents were actually exhaustive and they were they were what they wanted and they needed to solve a situation on site. The idea is to learn how to use collaborative platform, assess the appropriation of the business models and the trade models among foremen, site operators, etc. Assess the improvements of airtightness and ventilation level. The idea is really to cross information coming from all sides to improve the model and improve all the whole process. Of course, additional training session can be implemented in the original container to get a higher tightness level through a hands-on training. And afterwards, all we can say for now that hands-on training has been already performed on over 20 sites, and he has proved its efficiency, especially regarding airtightness issues. And this a new combination of BIMplement and fit training on hands-on site training is merging actually both trainings, and it will give even better results to ensure the quality of the construction final result and match with the expected design, which is the idea, is to be sure that we are actually the final result is as the expected one, and also to feed the whole process with feedback from foremen and make the process better. So I think this is all from me. So please feel free if you have any questions.
Thank you. Yeah, we are a bit late. I would address one question from the audience, which is for Miriam. The BIMplement toolkit is already in place. Do you have some feedback from the trainings?
Up to now, we have not yet completely tested full size this BIMplement kit. What we have been testing is the content of it with site workers, even very low-skilled site workers, and it did work real fine. So the content is perfect, is done, is prepared, and will be one of the results presented in the BIMplement project. But we haven't yet found any company wishing to test and train its own trainer.
Thank you for your answer. Since there are no more questions from the audience, I would leave the floor to Amandine again for the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to warmly thank all the speakers for the most interesting presentations. I think this has really shown concrete tools and methods that could be really already used today and make a real difference towards achieving a better energy performing buildings. And these results really represent, I think, a valuable toolbox for all stakeholders interested in energy efficient buildings, whether it's for renovation or new nearly zero energy buildings. As a way of conclusion, I will just briefly highlight a few pieces of information that you may find useful in case you wish to go further on today's topic. So first of all, we have released an updated results pack on our Codis platform. And this document is showcasing results of projects funded under the Build Up Skills initiative that I mentioned earlier. It's available in 5 languages. It's really user-friendly with interesting project stories. The link is provided here. We also want to reflect on the future of Build Up Skills initiative. Indeed, after 2020, the funding for this initiative is expected to continue under the clean energy transition pillar of the LIFE program. So for the period 2021 to 2027. So we have launched a consultation, which is open actually for a few more days until the 30th of June. And essentially, we look forward to hear your views on how useful and relevant this initiative has been until now, whether it should be continued, and if so, what should be the main focus areas. So please make sure you do contribute to this consultation. Maybe more short term, there is still an opportunity to apply for funding under the Horizon 2020 energy efficiency part. The energy efficiency call this year had 2 deadlines, and one has passed already, but you're still on time to apply under the second one, which is closing on the 10th of September. There are 10 topics open, and I just highlighted one, which is, I think, relevant for today's discussion. It's a topic that is aiming to boost demand for skills in the building sector. And in particular, the main goal is to increase the visibility and recognition of skilled professionals. So if you're interested, you can find here the link to the work program and also a presentation that we made earlier on during our info day. So to conclude, once again, I would like to warmly thank all the speakers for their presentations, and also the Build-Up team for organizing the webinar, and also Architect Council of Europe. We really invite you to regularly check Build-Up for more news and updates. It's a very rich tool For example, you can find the replay of a webinar we did a few weeks ago on the Build Up Skills initiative. And of course, the replay of today's session will also be available very soon. So thank you very much for attending and have a good day. Bye.